Roman works, yeah.
It's going to be Roman.
Whatever you end up doing, yeah. Good.
Welcome, everyone, to a new Consciously Unmasked, Masked Conscious Unleashed.
Maskedly unconscious.
We're still unconscious from last night, apparently. So, welcome. We have Jason down here. We have me over here, and then we have this gentleman. This is our guest, Roman Garcia. Everyone,
Thanks for having me,
Roman
guys.
Garcia of the Roaming Bandits. Welcome, Roman.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Jason. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, if you guys have been watching my edits of the Consciously Unmasked podcast, you'll recognize his music at the beginning. Dystopian Future. Very good song. It's a little bit different than most of your stuff, though. I think it's got that futuristic vibe when a lot of it's maybe more Western type. I wouldn't say country, but how would you describe your music? You got a lot of different styles going on.
Yeah. So Western has been an influence for me, and I've been told I sound pretty Western. I mean, I have all kinds of different influences, from Pink Floyd to, more jam band kind of stuff like Fish, and some funkier stuff. That one was easy because I didn't have to do as much vocals for, so it was nice using a text to vocal editor or converter to do the vocals for that. And then it was like pretty much, they're great. They're just one take wonders. Meanwhile, I'm doing like 50 takes for vocals, guitars, all that stuff. So, but the process is what I love. That one was interesting. It was definitely something. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, you see all these dystopian movies and things like that, and then you start kind of like thinking you're living through some of that. And you're like, okay, maybe I got to put something out there that kind of warns people, like, hey, maybe we're heading to a direction. And I mean, who knows who's going to lead us there, right? When it comes to politics, it's like, you might be pushing for legislation that is going to be something that you're like, this is what my beliefs are. But come down the line, somebody's going to take over, and they're going to use that legislation for their own, good or bad, evil mostly when it comes to government. But so yeah, it's an interesting song. I really like the ending with the weird. I mean, maybe not weird, but the solo at the end. And if you have headphones on that one, towards the end, you can see a lot of my messing around with production. So that's one of the other things I really love, besides just playing music and creating the actual songs, is I like the whole process of recording and mixing and engineering. And so I'm learning a lot of that from my buddy Jake Nolan, who's helping me produce. He produced Volume 1 for me, and now we're getting a lot more involved with Volume 2, which is going to hopefully come out later this year. It's currently in the recording phase.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yes, it's Volume 1's very good. You can definitely tell the production is stepping up with each release you do. I've been going back through the catalog, and it's great. And I really love the trumpets on there too. Do you do that yourself?
No, I got my buddy. He goes under the name Potbelly McCracken. Super talented guy. He plays like all kinds of instrument. So he helped me in Volume 1. We met on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. He reached out to me. He's like, hey, I see you're doing bass on a MIDI. You want me to throw down some bass for you? And then next thing you know, he's playing piano on Night at the Saloon, which is a fun song. And you probably recognize a lot of those people mentioned in that song, Jason. But he throws trumpet down, and that gives it really the Western flavor, which I kind of fell into. And some of my buddies were like, your music is kind of Western, but it's not. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I can go that route. I can go like CCR, kind of like that stuff, and maybe I'll give it a little bit of a Spanish flair as well, which I've started to do. I've started to write more songs in Spanish as well.
Mm-hmm.
So are you incorporating like nylon strings going forward then, you think, with like a little bit of the mariachi type piece?
Yeah. So I was talking to my buddy Jake about that, my producer, just yesterday. I play classical. Yeah, I play classical guitar.
Jason understands when I say that stuff, but anyway.
I play classical guitar. I don't play your standard acoustic metal strings. I always have. I like the fatter neck on it. It gives. I larger fingers, and so it gives me more room to move them around. And being from Spain, I used to play more classical music, more Spanish guitar and things like that. I just love that influence that I try to bring in. So it's one of the things I think it brings a signature to the sound is when you hear the acoustic guitar, it's a classical guitar, which is not, it has a different sound. Yeah.
Sure.
I got to try that, man. Cause when I try to teach myself a little bit of guitar, my fingers are just too fat. I fat finger the strings all the time. So maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, you're 8'3". You're like a behemoth, man. Like you need a Sasquatch guitar, bro.
I'm a big guy. Yeah. Do they make like XL guitars for big people?
Yeah, there's different kinds of necks you can use, but
what happens when you're short, little, and have sausage fingers like these guys? You can't do anything.
Yeah, I played piano as a kid, but man, I've been out of touch with music for too long. I got to get back in it.
Yeah, it's nice. Like I said, the process of creating something like you and my repertoire of like what I listen to it's very extensive. I don't remember half the bands I listen to. I just like find stuff online and I start listening to it. But the process it's what I really love. Like having something pop into your mind, and next thing you know, you're like developing into a product or not a product, but a piece of art that then you can look back and say, oh, that I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the process of that creation. And that's why I enjoy a lot of like construction projects, because it's the same thing. Right now I'm extending my patio. I'm building out a new block patio out there. And so I started visualizing what I want it to look like. And then, you start working on things, you start making sure everything's flowing the right way and for drainage and all that stuff. And next thing you know, you're like, have this beautiful piece of flooring that you're like, wow, that's amazing. I did that. That's incredible.
So yeah, that feels so good when you see it done.
Exactly.
There's something about doing it yourself. Like I'm my dad was super handy, like tool and die maker, all this stuff. I could totally do it. I could figure it out if I needed to, but I'm a lazy prick. But my last place, I remember taking up the tile flooring myself, like with I actually rented a jackhammer and everything. And the pain and pleasure that are both come out of that. Like I couldn't move for a week, but damn, I felt good that I got my hands dirty and just really did something for one, and you could see the results like actually become something.
Yeah. You have to go through the pain to really enjoy, right? And that's the same thing about life. A lot of people just want to take it the easy route, but there's something to be said about working hard and being able to look back and say, wow, I've actually accomplished something. And I think that goes along with that song, that song, Dystopian Future is, a lot of people get accustomed to just having everything, one same day delivery, dependence on just things that are easy. Convenience breeds dependency, and all goes back to the government, right? Then you start releasing responsibility to the corporations, to the government. Next thing you know, you don't know how to do anything. Humanity becomes this, idiocracy, stuff like that. So maybe we're heading that way.
Idiocracy.
We might be already there.
What a great reference every time. We literally have like wrestlers literally do like adjacent, right? Where like wrestlers are Trump adjacent. We had Hulk Hogan in that, right? Literally ripping off his shirt.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, brother. America's the greatest, brother. It's like, yeah, okay, cool.
If you don't see that this is all a show and start thinking, okay,
So I have a bigger question, Roman. The greatest question is, you are a musician. How did one become? Where did you get to put musician on your tax forms when they rape you every year? How did you get to that point, right? Like you mentioned construction. I would assume you probably worked all these jobs that got you through just to tomorrow so you could work on your creative side inside your head. But everyone has different paths. I'd love to hear how you got to where you are.
Well, musician for me is actually a deduction because it doesn't make money. For me, I'm sure there's plenty
for the
of
last
people
42 years, right?
Right.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
No, I'm not like, that's not my full-time job. So I'm actually working healthcare IT. So that's how I fund my passion. Yeah.
So yeah, so how long have you been making music then? Or when did this portion of it start where you're like, I'm going to record this note and then I'm going to record this chord and then, going forward to there?
Yeah. So I started playing when I was 14 years old. I started with piano. Then during the 90s, I'm a Gen Xer. So I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Great time to listen to incredible
Best time, my
diversity of
friend.
music. Yeah.
I'm a Gen Xer too. So
Yeah. So all that stuff. I mean, and now there's a resurgence. Like for example, Smashing Pumpkins, Alice in Chains. My kids are listening to all that stuff, which is great. Which is kind of like what I used to. I used to listen to all that stuff, but then I used to listen to a lot of the stuff my parents listened to as well. Yeah, I started just playing, listening music, playing piano, and then of course as a teenager you start. I bought my first guitar from my buddy Ted back in high school for like $20. I still have it. It's the only instrument that I've kept around for all that time. And as you start, for me, it's being an introvert. So growing up, coming to a different country, I always had that struggle with the language, and so for me, it was a way to express myself when maybe I couldn't find the words to express myself because of the language gap. But in Europe, growing up, we listened to a lot of music in the 80s and sang along to them and really just enjoyed it. And I think I discovered my parents' vinyl collection and started playing a lot of the old records and things like that. And just again, I ended up loving music. I don't think anybody else in my family has like a musical like bone in their body. So we have a lot of great artists, painters, actors, drawing, all that stuff, engineers, which is also an art in itself, builders, construction kind of stuff. My great grandfather was owned a construction company that did a lot of building through Morocco. So there's a lot of that type of art, but yeah, music, I kind of wanted to be different than everybody else. I am a middle child, so I wanted to be, I guess I was trying to find my identity from everybody else in the family.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, I think that's where I went with that, is just trying to express myself where I don't think I could do it verbally most of the time.
All right. Well, Jason, I'll let you take the reins from here for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm curious when you started putting the pieces together. You talked about government and things leading to being controlled, being dependent on the state and stuff. When did you start putting that together? And then now you're involved with the Arizona Libertarian Party. So how did you get there, and what's going on?
Sure. What's that saying? If you're young and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart, and if you're old and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain. I think there's one more step to that. Is you have to get beyond that into, if you trust either one of those, you're going to put some kind of trust in the state. If you got to get beyond that, and you got to say, okay, now I know that I don't trust either one of those things. I don't trust the government, and I don't trust corporations, and I don't trust anybody to to live my life for me. And that's when you start thinking more of a, libertarianism and the things that come with that, individual freedom and volunteerism and things like that. In college, I was a big hippie in the sense of more of an old-fashioned hippie, where it was all about freedom and peace and love and things like that. And then there was a lot of drugs there too. But then you start, I bought into the propaganda of the Iraq war in the early 2000s after 9/11. And you start thinking, well, exactly.
Hold on. Who didn't?
We all did. Yeah.
Who did? It's 1990 America. It's 2001 America. We just 10 years ago beat the Soviet Union, right? Yeah. We are literally unipolar. We are on top of the world. We are America. And then this happens, right? We find this little thing can happen and just totally disrupt our whole lives, right?
Yeah, and I mean, they don't teach you anywhere in the public school systems that the media is not necessarily, always going to tell you the truth. They're always going to spin it. So yeah, I went, I guess, a little bit more, thought a little bit more nationalist, conservative kind of way. I still have my own views about freedom in general, but freedom here, not so much everywhere else.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, seriously, I'm going to impose my freedom on you. I mean, listen to yourselves, people. I'm going to impose democracy at the end of a gun. Like that. Help me understand that logic right there.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it sounds even more ridiculous when you realize that we don't even have it here. Like, how can we spread
Exactly.
it? Don't even
Exactly.
have it.
Yeah, what are we fighting for here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started listening to some podcasts, and there was one gentleman, the Jerry Doyle Show. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. Rest in peace. But he started, talking. He was one of the only people that brought on Ron Paul, and started talking about, the issues with the government and with the war, and with the Federal Reserve and things like that, and the big banks, corporations, and corporatism and all that stuff. And then the veil started to drop. The things started to become more clear, and you're like, oh, okay. Maybe we're not the good guys. Maybe
Are we the baddies?
well, I mean, I don't know. It could be.
It's like that freaking joke, right? That video, where the guys are standing there. Are we the baddies? It's like same thing.
Well, I mean, the problem is nobody's right if everybody's wrong, right? That the song goes.
Yeah, I would say nobody's really right. We're all messed up in our own ways. Each country, each government has its own flaws. Nobody's like perfectly good. Nobody's perfectly bad.
We can even go to that. Is every family, every household has its own individual challenges that are wholeheartedly different from your neighbor, even as correlatedly. Generally, we need food, shelter, clothing, all that stuff. There are certain challenges that some people have that others just don't, right? And that's just the way life is.
Yeah.
So everyone's different. How there could be a blanket understanding for all just doesn't make sense. Like it would work that way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, jump. Short story long. I became a U.S. citizen in 2018, and decided to register to vote. And I just registered as a libertarian. By then, I had already, listened to a lot more about libertarianism. I had.
Did you vote in 18?
No, I became a citizen in December of 18. Yeah.
Okay, I'm only asking because I think that was the Cinema McSally election, and that's the one that made my stomach turn with the ads that came out. They were just disgusting.
Oh,
It
right.
literally
Yeah.
like turned my stomach, where I was like, you know what? Neither of these two people deserve anything.
Yeah.
It's like literally the first time I had my break in that moment.
Yeah, I think that was that year, the midterms of 18.
Isn't that all political ads though? They're all freaking lies.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I like that show, Parks and Rec. They do a lot of fun stuff with making fun of political ads, and at some of those seasons there, that was interesting.
The most popular guy's a libertarian.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ron Swanson is like the greatest libertarian that's ever met. I'm in the government to destroy government. It's like Linda McMahon taking over Ed to destroy it, right?
That's right. It's like, well, it's true. It's like libertarian. A lot of the libertarians that I met along the way within the Arizona Libertarian Party and the LNC is, we want to get people elected so that we can, change things from within, right? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Because, man, after the last couple of cycles, 2022 for the LP was great, man, taking over, doing the Mises Caucus thing, getting the people in the party, and then it just kind of fell apart with Dave Smith dropping out. It feels like that Mises Caucus energy is gone. The Libertarian Party's kind of, I don't know what you would call it, a little bit of a dumpster fire at the moment, in my opinion, but where do you fall on that? What do you think's going on? And is it possible to make good change that way through the political route?
What I've experienced is there's a lot of wonderful, great, hardworking people within the libertarian parties, county level, state level, even at the LNC level. Very hardworking, but very few, and so they get burned out quite really quick. I know that I know that's what happened to me when I was. So I'm no longer. I don't have any positions in the Libertarian Party at the state. I'm a precinct committeeman here in Arizona, which we have those. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, you have a lot of hardworking people, and they get burned down, and there's very few of them, unfortunately. There's a lot of people who like to come in at last minute and say that, I have this idea, you guys should do this. And it's like, no, come with us and do it, get involved. And so it's a lot of just drive-by ideas, but the people that are keeping it together are wonderful people. And they have been doing it for 50 years, some of them, here in Pima County, we have somebody who's now the state, Arizona State secretary, the Libertarian AZLP treasurer. Sorry, not secretary. He's the treasurer. He's been around. He's been keeping things together, trying to recruit people and stuff like that. And the point is that you're right. There's like this huge resurgence, right? Ron Paul Revolution 2.0. And then once you win, everybody kind of scatters, and there's nothing really you go into that, just back into your comfort level. And so there's nothing to fight for. It's like, here, we put the people in place. Now go and do what we put you in place to do. It's like, no, you need that support, the volunteers, to be able to kind of push it forward. So if you don't have the infrastructure, so like, for example, if you get a libertarian elected into a high office, if you don't have that infrastructure of people, like-minded people, probably if you go to the president, you need to have all those people that support the president, or else they're going to just basically tell him to go a different way on things, And so you need individuals to stay involved, and you don't have that. I've seen that too much in this movement, where people come in and then they disperse, So that's the problem. It's the longevity of it.
It's kind of, it reminds me a little bit.
I'm guilty.
It reminds me a little bit about Trump. Trump's first term was a little scattery in that way. Like, he didn't really kind of have an idea what's going on, but it sounds like he came into this one a little more organized. And if you notice, the first month or two have just been just a whirlwind of craziness, right? But in a very systematic, organized, methodical, legitimate, focused way.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example of libertarians need to take note of that. If you're ever at that level, you need to have that infrastructure. You need to have somebody to appoint to all these things, even if the purpose is to dismantle it. However you want to go about doing it, whether you're a minarchist or an anarchist, or if you want to keep some of that in place, you need to have that. So the thing that I've been doing in the background, again, I'm not somebody who puts my public, I don't put my involvement in any party out in the public as much. But one of the things that we're trying to do in the background is do more local things, because that's what matters, right? It's the local, your city councils and things like that. So we did, and we had in Pima, we had really good, for a while, we had some people running and things like that. So we had Pima, I think, is probably the one has a lot more involvement because of the people that are currently in those positions, which are now raised up to the AZLP level. So we'll see how the state level things go here in the next couple of years. But more local involvement. And of course, I'm a hypocrite too, Jason, because I did it for a while, and I need to take a step back, because it takes up a lot of your time. So I don't blame him. I'm not saying hey, you should be doing this. I'm like, that the reason that it doesn't get more traction is because you don't have as much of an involvement like the Republicans and Democrats do. And it's not easy.
Is that we let any of it get to the state in the first place? Let's be honest. The second we offloaded family watching and whatever, second we offloaded the community stuff to the state, we kind of started giving up.
Yeah, exactly.
Unwinding that is really hard.
How do you expect people to get involved in some kind of movement with the process that society has been to delegate responsibility to corporations and the government. So they're not going to take time out. I mean, especially because there's not a lot of time in the day.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to all those guys in the AZLP, like Mac, Nikki, Kathy, Dave, all those guys, and you for doing the hard work. I just kind of showed up. I'm like, I like what you're doing. I'll be a body here for you. But yeah, man, it's a lot of work to try to make changes politically.
Yeah, you think you're going in there.
I was a great Neocon when I started. So when I left and then went to LP for a second and then saw the shenanigans at LP National, I went, oh, that was easy. I can step away from that. I saw that before. I saw that shit before. I can get away from that. Like once you see the pattern, you just start going, okay, I know where I'm at. Like it's hard to reattach once. First of all, you had to have your heart broken by the side that you were just vehemently ready to die for, right? First that happens, and then you see this other thing, and then you see like, oh, maybe there's another alternative, and you're like, oh wait, they're kind of not dissimilar because they have humans in them. Because humans are flawed. That's just what we are. We don't, and that's the point. Is don't give us the power because we'll misuse it. All of us will at some point,
right? Right. And so the question becomes is, I think a lot of people on either side basically say, well, we need the government to do this because people are evil or they're dumb or it's like, yeah, it's like, but you're just you're basically just handing the responsibility to other humans. And what's that?
Who's in the government? Not perfect people.
Like I look at the Kennedy run, and that was the thing is people are like, oh my God, Robert Kennedy, he wants to do good. He's like, you don't understand what Robert Kennedy would do as president. He'd want to have more power, not because he's a bad guy, because he thinks that his ideas are good. Yeah. That's why he would want it, because he thinks everything he would do would be good. So he'd want to take the power. The problem is, in 4 years, when he's no longer there, the power structure's still there, but that decision-making isn't the same.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the way you distinguish Republicans from Democrats is, I always say the Republicans want to tell you what not to do, and the Democrats want to tell you what to do. And so they all just go back and forth doing the same thing,
I like that.
Yeah. Well, where do you see it going forward? I mean, you talked about local action. Everybody kind of says that, like, what's local really matters, but the focus is always on the national conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, heads down, and if you want to get involved locally. That's my suggestion to people. It's where it matters, and that's for everybody, not just them, libertarians, but also just get involved in general, like in other things like volunteerism. Go out and help out in your community, help your family out, help your friends out. Start there. As far as like the Libertarian Party in general, I'm hoping that if I come back and do it again after my current like stint away from it, I'm just going to concentrate locally. I'll come back. Who knows? Maybe I'll build a big war chest and fund like a real good local candidate or something like that. Maybe if somebody like somebody that maybe we know, Jason, would want to run, or there's some good people that had talked about governorships and things like that. I'm not going to call them out here, but there's some people that we could like, if we save enough money and so I don't live in Tucson, but we got involved in the Tucson election with my county party. So I can't vote in the city of Tucson, but the last election, so it's even years, the last mayoral election and city council, the turnout was 15% of the population that voted in there. So 1-5. I mean, it's very easy with to build up enough money, like maybe 50 grand or something like that, and run a really good candidate and be able to have somebody win a city council race or a mayoral race. But it has to be a good.
Do that like an AOC thing. Look at AOC's whole district. It's
right,
like
exactly
10% of the people vote or something. It's like no wonder you know what I mean? No wonder they could just lift anybody up there and just prop them up there.
Right.
I mean, it can happen locally for sure.
But I mean that would just be, for shits and giggles, right? Because I mean ultimately it's mostly to just stop the continuation of insanity and spending and robbing, right? Because that's all we're trying to do at this point, is just stop people from getting into power and continually just imposing their views on us. So I mean, for me, I'll just stick with local stuff for now. That's all I can do, and just keep playing music too. And then also going out into the wilderness, because we got plenty of wilderness here. So unplugging from the matrix. I don't know. I don't know where the AZLP and the LNC are going to go, Jason or Mark. I know that was your question, and I just kind of went off on a tangent, but it depends on the people that get involved. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Good luck to all of them.
You could have called our show Tangents. Don't worry about it. We literally go A to J to B to Q to F to wherever. So
well, if it gets bad enough, I know there's some spot about 26-mile hike that I can get to and try to live out the rest of my,
a marathon away.
Get your bug out bag and run away from it all, right?
Yeah. I'm looking for places. I'm looking at Sholo actually. I don't know why, but something about that area has.
That area
potential.
actually in 10 years, it's growing right now. Sholo and that whole, what is it, Alpine and Sunrise, all that stuff out there. It's beautiful. I think that's going to be like the next place for development in Arizona from Flagstaff. I think a lot of people are, started to move into Flagstaff. That's been developed. It's no longer.
It's already.
It's so overpopulated, right? I mean, in my opinion, there's a lot of people from Phoenix that go up there all the time on vacation and things like that. They have houses out there, but that whole area in Sholo, that area is beautiful and high desert. And I think in 10 years, it's going to be very popular. So I'm not going to tell you to invest in any kind of real estate, but
no, we are not an investment show here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. I barely can handle my own finances, man. Come on, Roman. I don't want to deal with it.
I realized I've been muted for like 5 minutes, but I was going to ask, would you ever consider running for office? Any interest in that?
Is that for Mark? Mark, you want to run for office?
No, you, Roman.
No, I don't think so. I you know what? I wouldn't mind being part of the support structure. If we get somebody who's good in a leadership position, I wouldn't mind being in the support structure. I'm more of like a project manager, number guy, working, with a lot of financial stuff. Working in IT, you have more of an analytical mind, which is great for music. But I wouldn't mind being part of that support structure of whoever gets elected into office. Yeah. And just being behind.
I did apply for Congress in 2024. And then I pulled my application, Roman, just to let you know.
Okay. All right.
But I did have a podcast conversation with Jeff Zink, who was the guy who was running in the same congressional district it was Gallegos before he went to Senate, Gallegos before he went to Senate. So I'm like, what the heck? I'll just apply. So I talked to this guy and I'm like, oh, I can walk circles around this guy on just ideology. I'm like, Jesus spoke to him and told him he was supposed to lead his people in Congress. And I'm like, your people? You mean not Jesus's people, like your people? Jesus told you to lead your people. Okay, sure. Let's go with that one, Jeff. And then I saw him at AmFest. And it was funny because he got crushed. Of course, he get crushed as Republican in the only Phoenix district. It's like literally Phoenix. So I go up to him like, hey, how you doing, Jeff? And I'm like talking to him like I know him inside out. He does not recognize me at all. And I'm like, these pieces of shit, you talk to them for fucking hours and you get to know all about their insides. And I could tell you that guy's whole story. And that guy doesn't even remember me. Just a sociopathic piece of shit politician, just like all of them are to me. And it's so funny watching it. And the guy's a super nice guy. And there's nothing about that. I'm sure he's a really good family man, but he's a piece of shit. He's just a piece of shit when it comes to politics. Guy can't even recognize that I was actually a competitor and ran against him, spoke with him for multiple hours on a podcast. He's like, he recognized, it's like he can't put those two together. Trust me, Jeff Zink is nobody in my life, but I meet people, I actually connect with them and know who they are. You know what I mean? And this is something that's missing. And I think to your point, local is the way to get back to that connection.
Yeah. It's also great. Like one of the things we talked about locally is like sheriffs. the sheriff's is a great wall between the federal and state government to your county, right? So if you can get a sheriff elected who is willing to put, the freedom principles above, what the state does, then that's a that's a good start, because then you block all those mandates that come from above. But it's a yeah, I guess one of the things we saw in D.C. at the convention is what's the point of the Libertarian Party? Is it to get people elected or for messaging, right? I mean, you can do both. You can multitask, right? You should
it's just for
multitask.
libertarians to get in there and fight each other.
That is the
honestly.
point of the Libertarian
Yeah.
Party. Yes, yeah.
I really thought the Libertarians kind of sold their soul in this election to get some things pushed through with Trump, supporting Trump. It seems that way. Now, we can argue that Trump is doing bad things, but we can also argue that Trump's doing exactly what he told his people that voted for him he was going to do. Right? Like, I'm not agreeing with the ideology or anything, but it's funny. Like, look at Angela McArdle. I do think that they sabotaged that election so that Chase Oliver win, because I guarantee that Rechtenwald, by the time November came around, his message would have taken many more votes from Trump. That's just my opinion. And Chase Oliver was literally taking trans open border people from Biden. Like, literally, that's the only, that was his constituency.
Great. Yeah, there was there's a lot of discussions around that. Yeah, that's something that could be said, that if you would have had a Rechtenwald in there, but which, by the way, Chase and Rechtenwald, I met them both. They're great individuals. Fun.
They are very nice people. Yes.
Yeah.
I met them both
very
as well.
smart.
They're good people. Yes.
Way smarter than I am. But yeah, I've thought that too as well. I thought that it was definitely that. So yes. To answer
I don't know
your
if that
question,
was the plot the whole time, but yeah, at some point.
No, it's kind of like it unfolded, right? Almost like,
Yeah.
look, it's once again, it's kind of
Roll
like we
with the
talk about
punches.
the actual design of evil, but being able to take advantage and roll with the punches, that's some of that great strategy stuff that some people are really good at. And I think that's where it evolved to that, right?
Right.
It might not have started that way as an idea, but then it kind of grew to that.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of these individuals, and that's probably why I'm not involved. Also, I'm not involved. I just don't think politically like that. I don't think. I do think of multiple scenarios in my life, but politically, these individuals are very smart when it comes to well, that didn't work, and we're not seeing this happening. So what's plan B? And that's always good to have. Now you can't say that about all of them, because there's been some other things, some internal politics within the LNC where they didn't have a plan B. They just threw all their eggs in their baskets, and then you're like, oh well, that didn't work out. That blew up in your face. But yeah.
And to close this out, also, look, Dr. Rechtenwald has a heart condition. He's going in for some surgery. And it was Chase Oliver's tweet that I saw, him reaching out to give his support to Rechtenwald. So once again, this is not an indictment on the people. This is just about the politics part of it that when we talk about, when we pick it apart.
Exactly.
And even in the politics, man, like Chase is miles better than anyone else on the stage. Not in the Libertarian Party, but if you look at Republicans and Democrats, he's rhetorically much better on almost every
I was at
issue,
Freedom
right?
Fest, and he did great in that debate that had everybody. And what was funny, once again, Robert Kennedy was complaining about not getting on the debate stage with Trump and Biden. He does a 45-minute speech at Freedom Fest, and then he refuses to debate the other 3 candidates that are also running, who are getting shunned out of the debates. And you're like,
why would you want to go down?
Hypocrisy, man.
Right.
Like, he should have embraced that moment. He could have you know what I mean? He could have literally gotten a whole bunch of people's respect for taking that on,
What did you think of what he did with the debate? You remember RFK he did he had it up on the screen behind him, and then he would pause and then talk and pretended he was in the debate. Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that.
Oh man.
It just go commentary and yeah, interesting. No, I didn't see that. I've heard him speak.
Robert cast? Is that what he did? Like a Robcast IRL?
It's the response to the State of the Union. It's like, oh, I find that kind of weird. The response to the State of the Union. It's like, you know that the government is it's well, it's just weird that you have to, as a party, respond to the State of the Union, like
Mhm.
that
And
just
look who
makes.
responded too. Just let's take a step back. Slotkin responded. Gee, what a shock. What alignment do the left and the right have about one issue? One issue is the one issue that everyone seems to be on board with, except for Thomas Massey.
Yeah, exactly.
Israel.
Yep.
Huh. Sorry, I had to
Exactly.
clear my throat.
Yeah, on that topic, responding to the State of the Union is like we don't even agree on what the state of reality is. Like,
Right. Exactly.
that's
So
a big
so
problem.
basically, one of them is the state of the party that's in power, and then the other one is the state of the party that's not in power. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
There was a lot of fun stuff in there. People getting unruly. I feel like the Democrats really embarrassed themselves in that. This
Okay,
last one.
may I share a story that I had watching the debate? I watched the whole thing. I listened to the whole thing, and I was doing work too.
I'm sorry.
But there was that kid DJ. Okay. I wasn't watching it at the time. I was just hearing Trump talk. And he starts talking about this kid DJ. And he's like, he's 13, wants to be in the Secret Service. I go, oh, there's another young prick who's already captured by the system. Okay. Like literally the first place I go, right? Like I gotta admit, once the stuff cracks, like everything you see is just it's Matrix, right? Blonde,
Right,
redhead,
right.
brunette, you see the
Pretty
code,
sure
right?
DJ is a Russian asset.
Right, exactly. So then they continue, and then they talk about the brain cancer. And I'm sorry, humans, I shifted. I started crying. Okay, because I have a fucking heart. Because let a 13-year-old who's got a brain fucking tumor want to live a fucking dream, people. You know what I mean? But no, half of that group couldn't even see that. Yet I'm anti-state. But I knew we want to be Secret Service. But the second we found out his circumstance, the context in which he was there, it changed. There's where the humanity comes in. So why do we have to take a label and then put everything in that label, in that bucket, and be everything in there? Why can't we just take each piece out and look at each piece individually?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't watch it. I'm to the point where I'm pretty much unplugged. I see the memes. I see a lot of the AI videos and things like that. But I'm to the point where I think society is the matrix, right? So we've built, and I'm gonna deal with this in volume 2 here coming up. A lot of this stuff that we've been talking about, but it's the matrix is, I mean, it is, the movie and the books and all that stuff. It's about being plugged into a computer software and stuff like that. But really, society is the matrix we've built around ourselves, right? So all this political stuff and all these things, it's just it is
definitely
a
Plato's
matrix.
cave. I mean, it's
Exactly.
Plato's cave. It is it's theater for sure, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
what we'll have to do, because Jason and I did a Matrix episode. We'll have to kind of, once you do part 2, once you're finished, we'll have to have you come on and talk about the Matrix.
Oh, that'd be
We can
great.
talk
Yeah.
about some now. What level of conspiracy, simulation conspiracy theorist are you? Where do you fall on that?
I mean, like I said, I think society is the matrix that we've built around the cave, the matrix we've built around ourselves. And really, if you step away, so I do a lot of hiking. I go out and hike out for days. I live behind a canyon here, and I go hiking every weekend or almost every weekend. And then I look back and I see the view of the city and the town and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's time to head back into the matrix and walk back in. And the album, A Collection of Meanings, deals a lot with that, especially the title song, just walking away from society and basically just, and it might be that, for me, at one point it was more of, and I think I still am, just trying to minimize the impact of government and corporations on my life, to the point where that if I had to, I'm not relying on any of that stuff. So if shit hits the fan, and I know, like Jason and I were joking about, well, what we're going to talk about, probably World War III by the time we start talking with the podcast hit. Unfortunately, no, we're not talking about World War III, so that's good. But if shit hits the fan and society breaks down, are you able to, as a human, continue going? And I know that's extreme. It's fun to think about, because ultimately, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not past generations, but future generations might be, thinking about that kind of, or dealing with that kind of stuff. Hopefully not us. Hopefully not us. Hopefully our great grandchildren. Well, hopefully not. I'm not going to push that on them. Maybe we can stop some of that today. But I'm at a point where it's like I'm ready to say, like, I'm just gonna, try to do as much on my own as possible. And so I've been working.
It's kind of, you mentioned the nature thing is like unplugging.
Right.
Like you best learn to unplug before it's unplugged for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if
Right?
more
Like,
people did that, then maybe we wouldn't have so many issues, with each other. Yeah.
That's like localization to the extreme, right? Taking it down to yourself. Am I able to survive and live on my own? And I think about that a lot. And I feel like I would be screwed if something really hit the fan. And, what if we don't have power? What if I can't go to the grocery store?
I can feed a couple
get
people.
food?
I know that. I know I can
What am I
feed a
doing?
couple people with my body. So I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you can. I'll be the first one to fall in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it feels like that, right? I mean, it could be like that. It won't be like, zombies, the undead. It'll be like maybe downtown LA where you have all those homeless people that just, are camp out everywhere and stuff like that. It's pretty sad. I don't know if anybody has been to the big city, San Diego. I lived in San Diego for a while. I was living out there and playing with a band and stuff. And I went back a few years ago and it was like, holy cow, the homeless there, like, are just near Petco Park and stuff like that, which back then they weren't that far out. But it's pretty bad. I mean,
yeah, I haven't been there for like 6-7 years pre-COVID, but I hear it's gotten worse. It was bad then. Like, yeah, the homeless situation there was really sad. And I get why people are like, oh, we have to do something. And here's the government with all this money. Let's take it. You guys take care of it, but then it never gets taken care of. So what's going on?
I was actually there for the Big Bay Boom Bust thing in San Diego. You guys remember that fireworks display where they all went off all at the same time?
No,
No.
I hadn't heard of that.
So,
That sounds awesome, though.
It's got its own Wikipedia page, actually. It's called the Big Bay Bust. And it was called the Big Bay Boom. And they had like radio stations and 4 barges of fireworks. And they were going to set off all the fireworks to the music on the radio station. So my girlfriend at the time, we got this seat at Sally's on the waterfront, right in front. Like there was like a pier, and then behind that was one of the barges. So we're like, we got the front row seat, right? Nice. 5 minutes before, all of a sudden, everything starts going off. And I'm like, I start putting my head in my hand. She's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I go, no, something happened. All 4 barges went off all simultaneously and just all exploded all at the same time. It was amazing. Oops. They spent like $2.5 million, and it was some glitch in the code. When they turned it on, the software, it set off all the fireworks.
Well, it's one decimal point, and then
yep. Yeah, they needed you there, Roman. They needed you to get in the IT there and fix it.
I would have done that. I would have just done all at once. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, so people were like literally spent thousands of dollars to be on the rooftops of all the hotels there. And they're all videotaping it. And you can just go on YouTube right now, just type in Big Bay Bust or whatever. You'll see 3 of the barges all at the same time, just like look like they just explode. Oh, nice. Kind of interesting.
Wow. That might be more exciting, honestly.
Yeah.
It was fun. Oh, it was totally cool.
30-minute fireworks show.
Just a finale. That's all it is.
Yeah. What organized fireworks? Oh, no, thank you. Let's let them all on fire.
Give me an explosion.
Yes. Carnage.
Yeah. If I were to take the Roman Bandits and do a live show, I would definitely do pyrotechnics. Probably not to that extreme, but I would love to have some of that. And I'd probably have to do like an outdoor show. You don't want anything happening indoors, but laser shows and stuff. Lots of crazy like light show,
smoke lasers, and
yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. Well, once again, everyone, welcome to another Consciously Unmasked. We got about 30 people online live. We've got Roman Garcia of the Roaming Bandits. He joined us today. Say hello, Roman. So let's go talk about some other stuff. There's some good topics we're having. Roman's part of libertarian ideology, I guess, or thought philosophy and things like that. I don't know if he's big L, little L. It doesn't really matter. We're just all kind of talking, and we're talking about music. So welcome, and thank you for joining us.
We're all taking L's either way.
That's right.
Anyway, yeah. So I thought we could talk about. Everyone's been talking about it this week. We're a few days late. We were supposed to do this on Thursday, but Mark would rather talk to Scott Horton than to me. But you made the right
How
choice,
dare
buddy.
you?
Yeah, that was a good conversation for sure. I like that.
Thank you guys for your grace. Like, it's so hard planning these things, and I literally got it 2 days before, and I'm scrambling. So thank you for having the grace to allow me to do that, or like get me out of that, because I feel off every time I have to reschedule. It is gut wrenching for me. It twists my insides and just sets them on fire. It is the most uncomfortable feeling. So thank you.
Yeah, no, you made the right choice for sure. But
it was definitely a great conversation, no doubt.
Yeah, it was great. You guys hit some of these topics actually. The Trump-Zelensky meeting, that's where I'm getting to. Zelensky visited the White House, talked with Donald Trump and JD Vance. JD. So Zelensky's there, and I'm only saying his name with one Y, by the way. But as always, the thing itself is not as interesting as the media reaction, right? You can watch something and be like, oh yeah, that wasn't great, I guess. But then you can count on the legacy media to totally blow it out of proportion. So I want to start out with a clip here from our favorite old man who yells at clouds, Morning Joe, just to kind of frame the whole thing, see where they're coming at it. And then we'll look at some of the actual meeting.
Number one, sir?
Number 0.
Number 0? I didn't download a 0.
You didn't got a 0? Bro.
Hold on. All right, we're gonna have to keep talking. Hold on, let me see if I can find a 0 and download it. In the meantime,
you watched this meeting, right? I'm sure you've seen at least clips of it.
I have.
Oh yeah. Like I said, before the show, Mark and I were talking, but yeah, I've seen the AI versions of it, which are what I assume is reality at this point. And so no, as somebody who doesn't really consume mainstream media, I didn't watch the actual thing. I just watched the AI pieces. So my favorite ones are when they're playing Uno. That was very interesting. Seems like a game night at my house. And then the one where they're playing guitar together, which I think is probably pretty accurate to what's going on today in the news. So
yeah,
the AI stuff is crazy. I mean, it's hilarious, but yeah.
I saw another one where they're playing cards, like how they mention, hey, Vladimir, you don't have the cards, and then suddenly he's like, I got the cards. He's like juggling cards, and it's all AI, and then JD throws up a deck of cards. It's crazy. But I didn't grab any of those. I did grab one that's going to be a fun one, though. We'll see it.
All right, just give me 1 second, boys. I'm right there. I just got to do it. All right. You guys ready?
Ready.
Gosh darn it. I hope I'm in the right page.
Well, the AI stuff is going to be very interesting going forward. But yeah,
AI could be like you said, it could be the real thing. We're tapping into the real dimension, and we're actually in the simulation. We're actually.
Oh my God, AI's running us.
Creation.
What? All right, you guys ready, gentlemen?
Yeah, let's go.
The reaction to that stunning meeting, that sickening meeting, was swift. The Wall Street Journal editorial board wrote in part this: the point of the meeting was supposed to be progress toward an honorable peace for Ukraine, and the event's winner was Russia's Vladimir Putin. But as with the war, Mr. Zelensky didn't start this Oval Office exchange. Was he supposed to tolerate an extended public denigration of the Ukrainian people who've been fighting a war for survival for the 3 years?
All right, so this is just setting it up here. Is he supposed to tolerate an extended denigration? And if you watch only the part where they're fighting, you might take that as reality. But if you see some of the lead up to where they start arguing, you realize it's very respectful. It's very calm, collected. The whole thing is kind of weird, right? Let's turn on the cameras and just show people what we're talking about. I think it was supposed to be set up as hey, here's our nice camera moment. Let's look good for the public. We're making a deal. We're going to sign something after we meet today. And then it just Zelensky did not get it.
Yeah,
Roman, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see it all develop in real time? Or, I mean, how much of it feels like it's just it feels like it's all unraveling in real time, and it's nice to see that on camera. I don't think it was anything that, it was supposed to be like a stage moment, right? And then all of a sudden it just kind of just fell apart. So it's interesting to see that happening, just coming out from behind doors. I don't know if anybody intended it to be like that, but yeah, it's crazy times that we live in, right? You wouldn't see like during World War II, you wouldn't see like FDR and Stalin and Churchill doing that kind of stuff. I mean, it would have been interesting to see that, but it's crazy how we're seeing everything just fall apart like that.
Absolutely. Very interesting to see things on camera like that. You'd think that would happen behind closed doors. They could have all their arguments. I'm sure that's normal, right? But to have it in your publicity stunt, like, hey, we're really close to a deal. Let's talk about it. Let's tell the press about it. And then for him to just like, we'll see some of these clips, but he's like, oh, no, I need a security guarantee. And he's like still trying to negotiate in that setting. And it's just
I mean, that's got to be probably the most libertarian thing I've seen out of them, like fighting in public like that.
Yeah. And it's funny, like to your point, we'll see the clips, but it's funny watching. All Zelensky had to do was say, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. This is such a great opportunity. We're so grateful, American people, for helping with our sovereignty. That's all he had to say. But the guy had to make it like a tough guy show. And don't get me wrong, like I get why he did what he did, because he lives in Eastern Europe. That's how they do their media. That's how their propaganda machine works. Ours is a different way. Ours is like this, like, zhuzhy way of making us think we actually have a choice when we don't. They just tell you lies to just bold things outright. And that's not how the game's played here. He didn't understand the game, and we can like not blame him for that, but he will suffer for that. Like he is in trouble. Like that moment was awful for him.
But maybe he is playing the game. Maybe he knew that the reaction was going to be what it is, and then later on went on his little tour of Europe to get them to, put together the $1 billion. Maybe he knew that this administration.
But what's the matter? We already had the money for him. Why would he need it from them if he knows he's getting it from us?
Yeah, he doesn't know. Yeah, I don't think he. I think maybe he
That's
knew
true.
that he wasn't getting it from us. Change of regime in the U.S. He's like, yeah, I know.
Well, we were going to get all that minerals. We're getting all that minerals now, Roman. Come on, Lindsey Graham said it. $2 trillion.
Elon needs the minerals for those batteries, doesn't he? I don't know, maybe.
I think that's what it is. And it's funny, we're going to aluminum. Man. Hey, everybody, aluminum, guys. We're getting aluminum from Russia.
We're getting raw earth.
if there's something that you should recycle, it's aluminum and glass. Those are I know somebody who's been in the very close to me, who's been in the recycling industry since the 80s. Those are the two things that are actually profitable. Now, maybe not glass anymore because the plastic industry has taken over a lot of that stuff, but aluminum's definitely and copper. Copper as well, but
aluminum for sure. I think 80% of aluminum is recycled.
Yeah.
And like Alcoa cut 20% recent from the US market. And if you look, like Coca-Cola the reason sodas I think have skyrocketed is because of aluminum.
Yeah.
I think it's literally for the cans because they're so expensive now.
Yeah, it's a viable way to replace plastic.
I think it's China.
And a good way to get Alzheimer's too.
Yeah.
Once again, it's Thursday, everybody, and welcome to another Consciously Unmasked.
Thursday. Ooh, my days are way off.
If you
can start pulling up 0.5 if you got that one too.
0.5. Yes. Yeah, I got them all after that, sir. But that first one, you got me with 0. I don't know how you got me on 0, but I think that's what screwed me.
I didn't want to change all the numbers, so I had to go.
Right.
But I can't count the 0. That's on.
So you don't have the what is it, the background that I have from the Persians and things like that, who invented the number 0.
Oh no, I don't. It's like the infinite 0. I love it. Is this the one, Jason?
Mark's ancestors invented gas chambers.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Wow. All right, I'm just gonna hit play. I'm done with you guys.
Go ahead. Let's see the fight. This is the fight.
Should not have allowed this to happen. Okay.
Wait.
The United States.
No. This ain't
run
right.
by a
This
man
is
that
5.
didn't know-
5, right?
I need 0.5.
There's a 0.5?
Yeah,
Dude, what are you doing to me?
I told you this morning. There's 0, 0.5, and I put 9, 10, 11 in there if you want to grab those.
I totally didn't read that today. I apologize.
Man.
All right. You guys talk more about music. All right. I will play full catch up. Give me 2 minutes. You guys talk, and we'll get this sorted out. Small technical difficulty. I'm hitting you.
Man. But I think, man, I think you got something there that Zelensky could have done this on purpose. He could be playing 5D chess with Trump, outwitting him at his own game. It's possible.
Have you seen the there was a documentary, I think Oliver Stone was in it, Ukraine on Fire. It's about the color the color revolution, with that kind of like started a lot of this, right? The regime change, going back, what was it, 2000 and I forgot the
14.
years. 14, yeah. It was crazy. I watched that. I could only find it on Rumble. It had been suppressed everywhere. And because it was more of from a perspective of the Russian side. But ultimately, it was basically what I've learned from the whole Ukrainian thing is it was the same thing. Russia and the U.S. trying to do regime change in Ukraine, right? The same thing that they've been doing in the Middle East as well. So that's what happens when you play politics. It just escalates, just like the Middle East has escalated over the years. It's escalated in Ukraine, and it'll, so as long as you keep meddling in other people's affairs or in other countries, you're just gonna that's what's gonna happen.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And in my conversation with Scott Horton, obviously we saw what's happening here. It's Groundhog Day over and over again. It's United States interests backing shitty, evil people to fight Russian interests backing shitty, evil people. It's okay. All right, fine. What are we doing on their doorstep though? Like literally, imagine them coming. Cuba Missile Crisis. Hello. It's all Monroe Doctrine for thee and not for we, right? It's unbelievable. Greenland is national security. I mean, Ukraine is on the border of Russia, and they scream national security, and we want Greenland.
Well, Greenland's kind of up for grabs, right? There's not that many people there.
Yeah, we can buy it, but that's like a totally different thing than national security, right? Like
maybe they'll forget about it because they probably
want to buy a mineral country, right?
If they can just get the rare earth metals from Ukraine, then maybe they just forget about Greenland. Who knows?
Yeah. Greenland's interesting because it is something that it's for, what's in there, what's on the ground there, what can we extract from it? But it's also part of the smoke and mirrors, right? It's like the Gulf of America, right? It's all, hey, look over here, don't look over here. We're going to try to do something else while you guys are paying attention to this dumb shit.
And then and flexing about Panama after giving it up, like it was given back. Like that's how it works. Unfortunately, I don't think you can play Native American giver. But
I think Trump already forgot about that too. I think somebody told him about Panama. He's like, "Oh, this is terrible. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to America."
Jingling keys, jingling keys.
Yeah, and then he was off to Ukraine again.
All right, is this correct, sir? Am I okay?
I know people have probably seen it, but we got to look at the fight first, and then we'll go back to the lead up a little bit, just to show that it's not crazy.
Actually measured my dick, and it's a good 12 inches long, while yours, Mr. Zelensky, is really short. I mean, what do you have? Something like a 2-inch micro penis, and you think you can sit and talk with the grown-ups?
Wait a minute.
No,
you
shut
lie.
the fuck up.
That's
not only
not
do you
true.
have a micro
Not
penis,
micro.
which is an important point, but on top of that, you refuse to share your Pokemon cards, and that's not nice.
So first of all, a 2-inch penis is not a micro penis, okay? And for your second point, my Pokemon cards are all mine, and I don't have to share them if I don't want them. I work super hard to get them, and they're really special to me. So I'll keep them.
You don't understand. You can't continue to play with us if you refuse to share
It's
your
not fair.
cards. Calm
It was
down,
my
let
mom
me
who gave
explain.
them to me.
I understand that
That's
you're
not
not happy,
cool.
buddy, but that's how it is when you play with friends. So when I ask you to show us all your
But they are mine. They are my
Pokemon Dragon cards.
I received them for Christmas. They are my
Listen,
dragons.
Volodymyr, if you keep going like this, you know what? Nobody will
But
want to play with
that's
you
not fair.
anymore, and that includes
You
Vance
never
and me.
want to let me play with your Xbox.
You know why you can play
How
with
do you
the
think
Xbox?
that makes me
There's
feel?
some games that are too violent for you, and
I'm
you're
old
still
enough.
too young.
It's not that
There's
violent.
too much
I'm big
violence.
now.
Yes, it's
I
violent,
don't
and you'll
even
end up
need the
having nightmares
nightlights to
again,
fall
and
asleep at
crying to
night
your
anymore.
mom, and then she'll call my
All
mom,
right.
and I'll be the one who gets in trouble. So you're going to stop complaining and give me your Pokemon cards and your lunch money before I punch you.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that one in. There's so many good ones out there.
Well, no, that's perfect because
That was perfect.
when it comes down to it, it is all about the violent video games. So we have to put it at the hands of Nintendo, who owns Pokemon, right? I mean, the fact that you're like capturing animals and putting them in a ball and then making them fight each other, that's just, you see what happens. It just escalates issues in Ukraine, Russia, America gets involved, not the EU. It's just, it's all Japan's fault. They just haven't stopped since World War II.
Man, you're blowing my mind
let's
here.
let's drag them into this.
You're
Sorry.
making connections I never thought possible. Wow. Okay. I got to rethink my whole position on this.
I thought it was Australia.
What, Pokemon?
I don't know. I'm just blaming Australia.
Australia.
They do have a lot of Pokemon-looking animals down there too.
They do. Actually, they probably are. That's like literally like that's hell. That's got to be hell, right? The outback, whatever animals are able to survive that place, that's got to be a pretty.
I got a lot of listeners in Australia. I might have to go visit one of these days.
Oh,
it's definitely
cool.
on my bucket list to go down there and check out the outback.
Can I ask how you came up with the name Roaming Bandits?
Yeah, I just very simple roaming. I just like Roman band, Roaming Bandits. There we go.
Like it. I thought that Roman had something to do with it, but it's cool that you kind of incorporated that.
Yeah, thanks.
So, all right, Jason, take over, sir.
All right. So we can get back to the real thing. Let's go with number 7.
All right. I do have them all uploaded now. I swear until I screw up the next one, it won't be screwed up.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that one correct?
Looks like it.
All
Yeah.
right.
So this is actually where they start fighting, and this is what the media, what Morning Joe, what everybody else is calling just a disgrace. It's disrespectful. It's making America look like idiots and blah blah blah. So this is what they're talking about.
And Jason, can you share the Michael Mouse thing about how the media, what they share, truth or something versus fact? What's that statement that he always says?
Factual but not truthful. So they'll share real clips, real statements, but completely out of context. So it sounds like
And I'm a Rick Rubin guy. Roman, I'm assuming you might like Rick Rubin a little bit, but he has the things that context changes the content.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of those. Here's a clip.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? Did you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning. Sure. First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering all these
position to
questions.
dictate that.
That's exactly what
Remember
you're
that.
doing.
Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. You have no idea.
I got to get a JD Vance down. Damn, I got to work on that.
Yeah.
Are you saying,
I
Mr.
just
President,
sound like a
that you think Mr. Zelensky, you can't even say thank you? That's not it.
Yeah, that's the thing. So that's what everybody got pissed off about, is like JD Vance mostly, when he stepped in and he was like, whoa, hold on. You're coming in here telling us what to do. You're telling us that we need to give you a security guarantee when we've given you $350 billion so far. And for what? People are dying. You know, you're not making progress. You're not winning this war. You don't have the cards.
The problem was the cameras were on. That's the 100%. JD, like, no, you think a Trump and a you think those personalities are going to allow to get like any slight like disrespect in their house on their time with their cameras, with their, you know, whatever they're doing, whatever they perceive they're doing? This is a total, like, completely ego, right? We know that that's so easy to get out of hand. But like, this is crazy that first of all, did anyone see him get out of the car? Zelensky looked like he was coked up out of his mind. He was jittery and shaky, and it's almost like he just couldn't keep from biting his tongue anymore. And then that stuff just started coming out. And it was same talking points. Oh, an ocean between us. Didn't we use that in World War II? Like, oh, there's an ocean between. Oh, you know, you're happy, you're lucky to be happy in life.
Yeah, I think the question is, does he want peace? Once you start a war, there's only certain ways to get to peace, right? You either, get demolished by your enemy, demolish your enemy, or you come to the table in a stalemate. I mean, I'm thinking of the three most obvious examples, right? What's the current situation? Do you want peace? Where are we at? It seems like there's a stalemate. That's what I'm getting from a lot of the information I'm seeing. And so if you're asking for money to continue the war, it seems like you're asking for money to continue the war versus, sitting down at the table and coming with a compromise, right? And a lot of people, I think, a lot of people that support Ukraine are like, no, there's no compromise, but then the only other option is provide them with enough weapon to decimate Russia, right? Because that's the only way you're going to get everything you want.
They're not they can have all the equipment they want.
Exactly.
But literally, you spoke of the stalemate. That stalemate the last 6 weeks resulted in like 100,000 deaths on between the two sides. That's like this is just carnage beyond carnage. Yeah. I mean, and you're right. It is literally about the peace. He does not want peace because these people are not voting for peace. They have gotten billions and built, and they're walking around with $100,000 cars or whatever they're doing, rich out the gills. All 286 of their parliament members have taken our money and are profiting, sending their children, mentally disabled, throwing them in vans and having them blown up on the front lines for their greed. It didn't start out that way. That's not how this started. Once again, it's kind of like this wasn't the end game, right? But Zelensky got pressure from the Azov to fight, not give up. But once it turned, he then got caught up in all of it, right? And then you're not getting out. You're in a loop now, right? He's in the loop that he cannot get out of because I don't think Azov will let him live if he doesn't continue this. And I don't think he can get out without, and it's profitable for everyone in Ukraine that's sending their children to die. It's profitable. So that's just an opinion from what I see.
They're not sending their best.
No, I think you're right. So what, like it, some of the Russia came into Crimea with, unarmed troops back in 14, 16, something like that. And
yeah, but Roman, I went into that. Do you know how many people died in the invasion of Crimea in 2014?
What, like 6
people?
Take
a guess. It was 6.
6 people, yeah.
Right. Like,
we saw your interview, man. We know.
Once again, I'm not belittling the invasion of Crimea, right?
No. Like, I'm just saying, that I think you're right in the sense of like, wasn't it? Well, I think maybe you did speak about that this week. That's where I'm getting the information from. Okay, so don't believe everything.
It was with Scott. It was on Scott's literally.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was.
Please,
yeah,
please feel free. No, share your thoughts.
Yeah.
Once
So
again, we're on.
So what was it? So you guys were talking about the Crimea, coming in, and then from there it was the Azov that started throwing, launching, missiles or bombs or whatever at that area, right? So they're the ones that have the power there. So you're probably right that they're the ones that are like, no, we're not going to allow anything but the destruction of Russia, right? So that's one way to end a war, I guess, is but I mean that means that you have to bring in the EU and the US for that, and then the question becomes is, when will the nuclear weapons start flying, right? At what point does Russia say,
the escalation is the concern?
Yeah. So,
and I would never think I'd agree with Mark Milley ever. I never thought I would agree with Mark Milley. But after September of 2022, after Ukraine had initially like fought off the initial onslaught, Milley's like, that is the best time this is when you have to negotiate now, while this is the upper hand. This is it. But we pushed. We pushed our hand once again. We didn't have the cards either, because they didn't have the people and they didn't have the expertise and they didn't have it, to do it. So.
Yeah, well, I got kids that are turning 18 soon, so this is starting to hit a lot harder than some of the other wars, when it was just was it going to be me that gets Yeah, I saw the videos that that you were referencing, the people getting pulled into the vans and dragged into the front lines in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
That's I mean, if that's true, again, you always have to question what you see online. If that's true, that's just crazy. I mean, that's just nuts.
And Zelensky has said before, like, we are going to need your people. We need your sons and daughters to go fight. And even in this meeting, he mentions, like, we need the security guarantee or it's going to be you, and a security guarantee, if you think about it, what does that mean? That means the United States fighting, or at least giving more money forever, which is its own form of conscription or slavery. It's just like, you have to realize what this means.
And even bigger outside of that, Jason, is, why do you think we want the minerals? Is so we can put a presence there. Like, take a step back. We need a military presence to protect our interests in the mineral protection extraction while we're there. So, like, they're bamboozling us to put military there by saying we want the minerals. They're trying, once again, they're framing it like it's us what it would take, just like what it would take to have a no-fly zone. You would need to eradicate the area around the air where air-to-air missiles can still strike, right? Or surface-to-air missiles. So it's not just the little thing. They're literally telling us it would have troops on the ground to protect the interests of protecting the minerals that we are going to rip off from them, right? Like, that's how it works.
It's just another excuse to do it, because they already have, like, nuclear stuff. They already have bioengineering there.
Right.
They've been putting military people there already. Right. That's why Russia was so pissed off.
And I think where Zelensky, third language, kind of propagandist. He said that one thing about being safe that Trump, I think, took, because Trump does kind of want peace. I think Trump wants to be, his legacy is, I don't want war. I don't want conflict. I'm a deal maker. His whole life has been the deal, right? So he wouldn't want to tarnish that with this little guy walking into his office and trying to, like, tell him that we're the ones that are going to die if he doesn't, continue fighting.
Yeah, and I heard that from Zelensky, that he doubled down on, it's going to be your people, your kids, your sons and daughters coming to fight the war. And then he had to backtrack that, because he was getting some pushback on that. He's like, no, I said, if, we don't get the support, then it's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I will fight to make sure that my kids don't have to go to that.
Yeah. It just, and what's Europe's response? Entitlement.
But what's Europe's response? Are they Churchillian? I mean, are we World War IIing this all over again?
Yeah,
they're like, well, now we're going to stand up and we're going to step on your throat. Like, what?
They're gonna fund now with a few $1 billion, right? I saw the propaganda, rearm Europe. So it's escalating,
ramping up for World War III.
And what, France and UK have nuclear, Germany does not. I think those are the only two of those five, right? I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it again, but I know Germany does not have nuclear capability.
Yeah. Well, let's go back. So we've seen the fight. We've seen the media frame a little bit. They're saying this is the worst thing to ever happen in American diplomacy, blah, blah, blah. So let's go back and see how it started. Clip 1. If you got that.
I've got clip 1, sir. Have I got clip 1?
You better have clip 1.
That's the one I started playing incorrectly.
Yeah.
we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much. And we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We'll have to negotiate a deal, but we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. They're losing thousands of soldiers. So on both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop, and we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard.
Yeah, so nothing too crazy here. He's like, hey, we've got a good deal. We're ready to sign it. We're going to dig, which means we're going to be deep inside. I know I got a couple inches myself. JD here has a few more. Deep inside. You're not going to believe it. Tremendous. But yeah.
Is
so
on both sides. Is on both sides his favorite term? On both sides. He's got to say on both sides. He's always on both sides because the motherfucking guy's a deal maker. He's a deal maker. If you can't see, this guy just wants to like haggle and just bargain all day. That's what he does. That's what he does.
If you can't get both sides to the table, you're not going to get anything done. So, right, you have to talk to Putin, even if you do believe he's a monster. Maybe he is.
No, it's the same thing with the Middle East, right? It was, we're going to go in there and get the oil, right? He just said the thing, right? So we're going to go in there and get the minerals.
And all that oil, right?
So yeah, I mean, there's always a cost to it, and yeah, it's unfortunate that government gets involved in all that stuff. But then again, they'll like to make the deals and for the benefit of their cronies, right? So
yeah,
you see a situation where you're like, okay, well, we'll make peace, but what is it for us, right? It can't just be about like, hey, what about, there's just a lot of bloodshed. It's a stalemate, and perhaps, let's just stop, do a ceasefire and come to the table and figure things out. It's, you have to throw a little bit in there for you, right? Unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, whoever side you're on, but yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm sure, and definitely saw it already. People in the media, people on the left, especially taking issue with even the fact that he's talking to Putin and not just condemning him as a dictator. He's a dictator, guys. I don't know if you knew this. Putin, I don't know if you're aware. He's a dictator.
Yeah. And at least you don't have to agree with his elections, but he holds them. I don't agree. Like, if you ask if I agree with the outcome of 88% approval rating, I'm going to probably say, nah, probably not. But
yeah, they're probably faker than ours.
Right. But he still does them, right? Like, you couldn't have feigned an election.
I know.
Like, on top of that, arresting your political opponents, killing Gonzalo Lira in prison while crying that Navalny died in a Russian prison. A Russian person in a Russian prison died. Oh my God. Oh, end of the world. An American died in a Ukraine prison that we're funding. Which one really matters here? Which one matters? Democracy, freedom, whatever. Like, which one? That's where, and then it sends me to 11 because I don't have this like cushiony escalation for me. I go nuclear right away. My head just pops off every time.
Yeah. So, yeah. Then another thing the media did was freaking out that somebody asked Zelensky why he doesn't wear a suit. And I was led to believe through the original reaction that I saw that it was JD Vance that asked him this question, but it was not. It was one of the reporters standing around. So this is number 4, if you want to pull that up.
President Zelensky, why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest, why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see people. Do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not respecting the dignity of this office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish. Okay. Yes, maybe something like yours. Yes, maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. maybe something cheaper. But yeah, thank you.
Kind of a
They
cringy
can afford
moment.
a suit, can't they? It's all our money. They're walking around with $100,000 Gucci bags, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the suit thing, Mark? Do you
I
think you
don't
should wear a
look.
suit?
I know that Zelensky's thing is a costume, right? I know what he is a costume. So
Yeah.
him walking in, because it's a visual thing. Like, I totally understand what Zelensky went in there trying to get some camera time to like look tough. So he came in and just like the Nicaragua guy, like Noriega comes in with his green hat, or like Castro's got that military look, right? That is who he is. Trump is the suit and tie guy. I don't give a shit about a suit. I give a shit about ideas. I care about people. I care about like getting things resolved. That's what I care about. What are your thoughts on it?
Me or let's
Let's
go to Roman.
Roman, yeah, Roman.
No, I agree with that. I think it's, the suit part. I agree with you. It's part of the statement. It's like, he's trying to look militant or whatever. It's the same way that all those dictators have always done over the years. The thing that concerns me is the fact that the media asked the question because they knew that was going to take care of the narrative. I mean, it was going to take over the narrative, right? It was going to be part of the thing that created a conflict within the people. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about peace. We're not talking about funding wars. We're talking about who's wearing what, right? It's just another way to do a reality fashion show or fashion show.
Who are you wearing, Roman? Who are you wearing?
just a generic outdoor camping shirt.
Love it. Yeah, agreed. I think what he wears is not important. He looks fine. He's not like in drab clothes that are falling apart. They're nice. Who cares? It was kind of cringy to see the reporter ask that question in that context, especially where they're just talking about like thousands of people dying and putting an end to the war. And he's like, "Why don't you wear a suit?" I was like, "Fuck off, man."
And on top of that, Jason, isn't the angle of the camera shot that they share with us telling? Because you thought it was JD, and anyone who else wasn't watching that saw that it was coming from that side of the room, and they would assume JD. Didn't sound that dissimilar from him. They didn't clarify. Reporter asked questions, right? Like, it's easy to be like, JD asks his like another world leader why they look like a schlub. Like, it is funny how they manufacture just even the camera angles, right?
Yeah, so we can go back to Morning Joe number 9 if you want to cue that up. They talk about the suit question, and it's not 100% wrong, but just this is the other side of it. Just the amount of offense that Morning Joe takes to this is kind of crazy.
So many things deeply disturbing about that meeting, but you don't have to take that from me. Just look at Marco Rubio slouched on the couch when the question is asked of a man who has been enduring the most horrific of slaughter from Russian troops over the past 3 years, and watching people that he knew and loved killed, and watching the country that he loved invaded by Russian invaders and killed, asked if he was wearing a suit, why he wasn't wearing the suit. Interesting, Winston Churchill never asked that question in Washington.
We must talk slowly to know that I'm serious. This is the worst question that's ever been asked of a leader in our time. Like, it was bad, but come on.
It was a country he had. Like, it's like Ukraine was past tense already, the way he talked about it.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, Winston Churchill was never asked that question." And for people that didn't know, I didn't know either till I heard that. And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Churchill actually wore like a zip up onesie thing during wartime that he called a siren suit. So when the bomb sirens go off, then he can quickly jump into it. And I don't know why he doesn't just stay in his clothes from the beginning, but that's his own business.
What was he talking about? What did he say about Marco Rubio? Was that a reference to what Marco Rubio said about the suit? I don't get. Or
no, just his demeanor after the meeting, how he was slouched and like, "Oh, this is bad. This is embarrassing."
That's interesting.
That's his reaction to it, right? It's like the woman who put her hand in her head. She's like, "Oh, we just lost every bit of funding for Ukraine."
Yeah,
like that one. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
All right.
It's interesting to see the media kind of like take the side of Bush and Rubio and some of the neocons and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well that answers a lot.
What happened?
Yeah.
And that's what's funny. I asked Scott that question yesterday. I'm like, what happened to the class? What happened to the liberals? Like, I offered people to watch Scott Horton talk about a different side of Ukraine than what they've been told on MSNBC and CNN. I'm offering it, and they're like, no, thank you. I don't need it from a right-wing fringe libertarian. And I'm like, a right-wing, what? Half of these guys were probably more like you than them. Like, they were classic Democrats who realize that you're full of shit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've met a lot of ex-Bernie supporters in the libertarian movement. The libertarian movement is kind of a home for all those disenfranchised people, for better or worse, I guess.
That's why it's hard to unite, though, right? Because it is literally a tribe of tribalists, right? So, like, we have to hate. We see those memes all the time where it's like the three libertarians beating on each other, like, or like where they're circling the copier, right, from Office Space, and like the copier is the libertarian too. It's just what we do.
It's a tribe of anti-tribalists, really. I mean, it's people that are like, man, I'm sick of these fucking assholes over here and those ones over there. I need my own thing. But then they get together and they're not even on the same page. So it doesn't really work, unfortunately. Let's do one more. We'll finish off with this one for the Zelensky stuff. Number 3, just a funny thing from Donald Trump here.
I've got this one.
Talking about digging for those rare earth materials.
Love it.
We don't know exactly how much because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing.
The raw earth.
A lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil and gas, but we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And
that's it. He just kept repeatedly saying raw earth instead of rare earth. The earth is so raw over there. We're going to bring it all back to the United States.
Raw dog it. We're going to not wrap it up.
Just typical Trump style, man. It's so funny just watching him.
It's like
talk.
he gets caught on a bone and won't let go until the next bone that he grabs onto. That's Trump. And if we can't see that after all this time, like literally, it's almost like I don't react to that stuff anymore. Like, oh yeah, that's just Trump again. What was the one where the media take him literally but don't take him seriously, and his supporters take him seriously but not literally? And it's kind of like a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's funny. I think you guys mentioned a few weeks ago on one of your shows that if the media would have just like let him do his thing, and just it wouldn't have gotten to this extreme. And I think even if they would have praised him, rubbed his ego, they would have gotten everything. They would have he would have grabbed onto that.
Yeah.
And he'd be gone.
Yeah.
There would be no Trump anymore. His 8 years would be over. Like literally, they could have just let it. But the deep state just did not like what he said. When he came in and said drain the swamp, it was like target time. They're like, this MFer, we can't let him. And they should have just let him talk. To your point, he just talks.
Yeah.
So let him talk. And then it would have probably all blown over in a weird way. But they actually systematically went after him. And that's probably a mistake for the most famous person, at least in the world, that I would think, like most recognizable person in the world.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They could have even pushed them, further into the left, just by praising him, because that's all he wants is, And
he came from the left. It's not like he's a right wing, far right. Like it's silly.
Yeah, I've said a lot, and I maintain that I think he could have run as a Democrat, and we would be living in opposite world right now, where Democrats would be loving the shit out of him, Republicans would be freaking out, losing their minds about everything he does, and he wouldn't have to change policy, really.
Yep.
What do you guys think?
But the problem was Hillary picked him as his opposition. She's like, Donald, you should run against me. Wouldn't that be cute? Like literally, like it's weird how much that got pushed.
I think that's part of the anger too, is the fact that he actually did defeat her, and then they were just angry about that. And And instead of like, we were talking about earlier, just, rolling with the punches and having a plan B and thinking about they just went full on board hatred. And again, during his first presidency, they could have completely just had him push all of their agenda. They could have pushed abortion through. They could have pushed, all the left wing. They could have pushed more of the more funding towards all of their programs, basically. So, but they didn't. They went full on crazy and hatred, and now that pushed him further to the other side. So now you see the pendulum swinging, right? Now it's coming back even further from whatever side you're on. Let's call it the right. And then of course, in a few years, it's going to get pushed back from the left, and they're going to push back even harder. And then we're all just stuck here. The people in the middle just getting
stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah. I'm going to be on the outside though, just looking at all.
No, we're on the outside. We're the ones eating the popcorn, watching the allegory in the cave happening.
So
it's a sad movie. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's interesting. It is kind of funny though, watching this happen. Like these people, oh man, I don't even know. They push everybody out and then they wonder why people are against them. Like it's true. They push the tech people out with Elon. They push RFK out. Tulsi. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard should be the president. She could have been a phenomenal Democrat presidential nominee against Trump. They're like 90% the same, and except for she seems to be even more eloquent. I don't know. And I'm not supporting her. Obviously, we're all kind of anti-state here, but if we're talking about who's available, right? Like, it's pretty interesting that she was competent and the Democrats don't want her, but they're happy to take a Pete Buttigieg. They're happy to take that guy who's more interested in renaming train stations than caring about and renaming NOTAM, because it's not notice to airmen anymore. It's notice to air whatever, instead of actually caring about air traffic or something, actually caring about the safety,
No, you're right. They did push a lot of people out. The tech companies banned a lot of people at the call of the FBI. So what happens then? If you have a lot of freedom-minded people that get pushed out of the mainstream and their voices get suppressed, you're going to have a parallel economy of information, and that's harder to control, which is good in some senses, but you're going to have a lot of crazy stuff coming out too. But yeah, that's what happened over the last few years, right? And that's what led things to get to where we are today. Is that continually just trying to control information, pushing people out, and then pushing people to either extreme. So it's unfortunate, because I think we could all sit down and agree that perhaps we shouldn't use the government as a tool to force our views on other people, but it just keeps happening. So there we are.
Well, Roman, you seem like a real level-headed guy. I mean, talking about people who are losing their minds about stuff, have you ever had any success, like talking to people, trying to get them to loosen up, or even get them to come over to the more libertarian way of thinking? Have you found anything that works?
The way I look at it is I don't talk to people trying to change their mind about things. I talk to people from the perspective of what I believe and why I believe it through my experiences. I've done a lot of it going back to the ACLP. I've done a few events where we've gone and talked to people and just set up our tables, and we had plenty of people come by, had tons of Republicans and Democrats, and they all asked me the same thing: why are you with the Libertarian Party? You should come over to our side. And I just tell them, it's like, look, the views that I've found within libertarianism are the best things from what I thought either one of those other two sides believe. And they asked me, well, give me an example. Like, what do you believe that the Democrats will believe? Well, at one point, I believe that people that consider themselves Democrats believe in prison reform. There's a lot of nonviolent people out there that are just thrown in jail for no particular reason, and I thought Democrats believed in that, but they obviously don't, at least not the people at the head of the whole thing, because you don't do anything about it. You don't stop the system because there's way too much money into it.
Well, Joe Biden signed the gun bill, the drug bill, and the prison bill.
Yeah.
He also signed in the allowing to take money out for college, and that you can't get out of the debt from college. Like, these are all driven by the state. the guy who ran for 4 years as a senator pushed all of those initiatives through to criminalize. And then he wanted to keep, what didn't he sue the state of New Jersey to keep a prison open? Because he wants the labor. Kamala even said it. They extended sentences and hid evidence to extend sentences because we're running out of labor. Not out of criminals actually doing bad things, but out of the labor that we're benefiting from the person being in the cage, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the goal is to see that if you're supporting one side or another, you have to see the hypocrisy. And I saw that, and so I tell people I see the hypocrisy, and therefore I step away from those either side. And I have my beliefs, and I try not to. I try not to let a party, I'm not going to go and back a team knowing that they suck, right? That team sucks. I'm not going to root for them, and they both suck.
Cardinals. Anyway, man, thanks for joining us today. I got to wrap up pretty soon, but where can people go find your stuff? Do you have any live performances? Anything that people can come support you?
Yeah, I'll do some open mics here and there. You can check out the roamingbandits.com. You can find all of my music in any of the streaming platforms. You can even buy CDs on Bandcamp. But yeah, the roamingbandits.com has a lot of my information, and I'm somewhat on social media, but again, I'm mostly unplugged. So nowadays, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been great. You're a natural at this. Should consider starting your own podcast.
Actually, you should. You should do a music one. I mean, you sounds like you have a music appreciation. So
Yeah,
you could probably do, like, with all the different styles of music. Like, I actually spoke with the guy Brendan B. Brown of Wheatus, for example. Like, as long as you don't talk politics with them, you can pretty much talk to any musician about music. Because politics is where it gets. Because, like, I can only imagine what's it like in your. It is a musician. Like, do you perceive more visceral or like actual more materialistic? Like, is it more concept?
Where do you get your ideas?
Oh, it's all. I mean, it just comes like you just have to be. I think Bob Dylan said it, where you and actually Billy Corgan just said something similar in a podcast I was listening to. I'm on. It's just something that just comes to you. Like, I don't know where it comes from. It's like it'll be a riff. You're sitting down, unwinding. I don't watch TV. I don't like keep up with anything really. I just the way to relax is to play music, and so I'll pick up the guitar, I'll play with the piano a little bit, and I'll just something will come to me, and then from there you start just letting the idea develop. So I'll have a riff that'll be sitting for a year, and I'll come back to it and let me check that out, and then all of a sudden it'll develop into something else. And you try to just let the song become its own thing and tell you where it wants to go. And if you force it too much, for me it sounds forced. And so that's what I love about it. It's the whole process of being able to just let the music kind of like and listen to it and think about where it wants to go. If there's a melody that needs to go in here and this and that. And so every song is a new learning experience where you just try to let it go, take you somewhere, and then I think subconsciously things just come out. And Billy Corgan said this in that podcast I'm talking about. There's layers to the meanings. There's the meaning of the words, and then there's the meaning for me as a writer that go beyond them, perhaps unintentionally, where you think back and like, holy shit, this pertains to this part of my life. And then there's the meaning of going through the process. What was going on in your life at the time, and thinking back on and having those memories of it. And then you have the final product and you're like, hey, I built something, this is great. You look back, and like I was talking about earlier, when you have like a construction project, you look back and you've done it with your own hands. In this case, it's more with your mind and hands, or actually in both cases, because you have to visualize a construction project too. You can't just, so being able to visualize it and then have it take you to where I want to go. That's kind of how I look at music. Cool. And some people might like it and some people don't. That's one of the things, as in,
music's subjective.
Quote unquote musician. You can be a musician who plays for the people. You can be a musician who plays for other musicians. Then you get into a more technical aspect of it, like being in a jam band back in the days. And then at this point in my life, I'm just somebody who's there for my own. I just do the music for myself. So, and if people don't like it, that's fine. I don't take any offense to it. I like listening to it. So.
I would give it a shot, everybody. It's really good. Go find them on Spotify. Get those numbers up.
RoamingBandits.com, I think, right?
You
got volume 1 up there.
The RomanBandits.com, and there's links to all of the streaming sites there too. So you can just go follow me on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you like, Amazon, all that stuff. Thank you guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, absolutely. Once again, we had another Consciously Unmasked. It's a unique day. It's a Saturday, but we are going to be officially moving, I think, the 24th or the 31st, whichever day we actually start doing it. But we will be moving to Mondays, correct, Jason, going forward?
Yes, moving to Mondays, I think on the 24th. So
on the 24th. And then we've got Kyle. We have tentatively, I'm only going to count the chicken right now, but it's tentatively we have Kyle Anzalone on the 18th at 7:30 Eastern. Because it's a 3-hour time. It sucks. We don't do daylight savings. This is when we switch over this week. So my brain is trying to do that whole thing because all my family's over there and it screws it all up. But anyway,
yeah,
so
we don't do daylight savings, but we're screwed by everyone else who does. So
exactly, screw you, America,
shit together,
in the world, except for Hawaii. Hawaii's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I tell my customers quit messing with the time continuum, man. It messes everything up. Just stop. If there's something you want to do, let's first everybody just stop doing the time change thing like we do in Arizona and Hawaii, and then after that we all stop paying taxes, and then after that we all stop fighting wars, and then we'll be all in peace.
That should be it. Stop. We'll just have a big stop sign.
Savings, no.
That'll just be it. Stop will be our message. Just stop it all. And then stop daylight savings. Stop taxes. Stop funding wars. That's how we'll do it. Roman, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is awesome. I've never met you, but I'm looking forward. Hopefully we can hang out sometime. We'll find a triangle. Like we're literally in like triangle thing. We're out to meet some weird place where all UFOs hang out or something.
That works. Yeah. We'll go UFO searching. That works. Awesome, guys.
Cool.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you again, sir. Once again, Jason, let's close it out. You have any parting words before we call it a day?
Man. Let's cut it.
Let's cut it.
That's it.
Take care, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Take care.